And I have to draw wings again. It really feels like the universe is conspiring to make me face my fears, but I'm going to avoid them at all costs. Hi, I'm Kibi Kana, a freelance illustrator and comic artist, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm sure if you've been scrolling on the art side of TikTok or Instagram, you've seen these pause challenges before, where you pause the screen to get a different assortment of character design elements that you have to put together. And if you have seen them before, you'll know that one of the biggest creators that makes characters based off these videos is SamDoesArts. Finally, he's created his own pause challenge, so that's what we're gonna do today, and we'll see how it stacks up and how well I do at actually making a character. So let's jump into it. Okay, I feel like we got really lucky with the skin because we could have gotten slime, so that's good. Okay, a cyborg eye, super fun. Ooh, okay, that's cool hair. I feel like something's coming together here. I'm starting to see maybe a vision. All right, some casual clothes. It's kind of giving tech wear. I think we can work with that. What's next? Eyes. Okay, sort of spooky. White eyes, cool. And last but not least, oh good, more wings. Okay, we can do this, we can work with this, let's do it. Okay, so I have screenshots of what I ended up with here on my canvas. That way I can just keep in mind what sort of elements I need to include while I'm sketching. Because we've got these wings and sort of this casual tech wear, I mean, it's not really tech wear, but I'm kind of making it tech wear. And also the cyborg eye, I'm sort of thinking some sort of futuristic cyborg angel kind of character, so we're gonna lean in that direction while we're sketching and see where we end up. I'm trying to keep her pose sort of triangle shaped because that's going to create a little bit of visual hierarchy here. Now, I'm not super worried about an interesting composition because this is just a character sketch, so it's serving more as a concept piece rather than a detailed piece of artwork. That said, I still do want it to have a bit of visual appeal, so I'm trying to keep all of that in mind while I'm working. You'll see me drawing the start of a head here, and I ended up really hating how it looked. I just wasn't really paying attention to my references, and it turned out terrible. So I deleted the whole thing and started sketching again. A lot of times you can rework something that's not working for you and make it better, but sometimes it's best just to start fresh. So if you're really struggling with a certain element of your drawing, or even the whole drawing, don't be too precious. Sometimes the best thing to do is delete the whole thing and start over. And also don't feel like it's a waste of time. You always learn something from your first attempt, even if it doesn't work out, and your second attempt or even third attempt is going to be a lot better. So now I'm just sketching in the rest of the elements that I need to include. I'm going with some tech wear, and I did play around with some different hairstyles before ending up here, just kind of keeping things simple like the original reference image in Sam's video. I'm drawing the wings in as just basic shapes for now, and I'll worry about the details later. Drawing wings really stresses me out, so that's going to be a problem for future me to deal with. Now that we have our sketch, it's time to start the rendering process. In the effort of full transparency, I do not know what was going on with me this week. I just wasn't really feeling anything I was drawing, so I hadn't made a lot of progress since the piece that you saw on my YouTube channel last week. I really went into this feeling like I had forgotten how to draw. Even though that's frustrating, it's really normal to have ups and downs like that as an artist, and it's not something that I try to dwell on too much, but it did mean that I was going into this feeling a little unconfident, so when that happens, I try to focus on the process rather than the product. So instead of getting too sucked into making things look good, I pulled up a bunch of references. I was looking at a lot of splash art from Riot Games and kind of seeing how they paint things like the skin, hair, and clothes, and then I tried applying that to my artwork. I think that using references like that really helps me get out of my head, so I definitely recommend trying that if you feel a little stuck. Everything was looking really desaturated and kind of bland, so I'm just adding in a pink overlay with a big airbrush over top of the image to kind of give some indication of the color of the light. Then, for some reason, I lost my mind and started making the lighting on the actual character yellow as if I hadn't just put in this pink overlay, which is crazy, but I'm going to fix that in a second, don't worry. Speaking of things looking desaturated, when it comes to actual color picking, I still really struggle with keeping my colors saturated. A lot of my work comes out feeling a little lifeless and muddy even. I used to get yelled at when I was in college a lot for my colors, so it's definitely something I've struggled with for a long time. I think I fell victim to online art advice, which is ironic because now I'm making online art advice, but I remember watching a lot of videos where artists told me not to pick super oversaturated colors, which is good advice. If your whole art piece is all incredibly saturated, it's probably not going to look good. But I think I took that advice and went way too far in the opposite direction and became really scared of picking super saturated colors when I first started making digital art. And now that's a habit that I'm really struggling to unlearn because obviously you don't want things to look super saturated, but you also shouldn't be afraid of that saturation either. It's a pretty delicate balance here, so I think if I could go back in time and give myself some advice, I would make sure to tell myself to take all of the art advice I can, but also make sure I know why I'm doing certain things, why I might need a saturated color here, or why I might need to use a desaturated color, rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to avoid saturation altogether. Now it's time to render the wings, and I am totally cheating here because in the reference image that came from Sam's video, they were definitely feathered angel wings, and I am ignoring that completely. Instead, I'm going for some sort of sci-fi-esque cyborg wing. I was actually looking at a lot of Gundam for reference on how to paint these wings, just because I haven't done a lot of sci-fi stuff, and because I love a good excuse to look at Gundam. Speaking of Gundam, a fun fact about me is back when I did a study abroad in Japan, I had to buy an entire second suitcase just to fit all of the Gundam purchases that I made while I was in Tokyo. Now it's time to render the pants. I couldn't find a good reference image online for the exact shape and angle I was looking for, so I dug out an old pair of khakis to try to replicate the pose myself. I definitely recommend doing this if you can't find a good reference because you don't have to worry about any sort of copyright issues, and you can get hyper-specific to the exact details you want to replicate in your artwork. At this point, the background was looking very boring to me. Most of the time in my work, I start with the background just so I can get a general sense of the environment my character is going to be in, but in this case, I really thought I was going to leave everything kind of blank, so I didn't add anything. I should have known that I couldn't leave it that way, so now I'm blocking in just some general shapes and colors in the background to try to give it some texture there. I'm also adding in more of that pink overlay to make the lighting seem a little stronger and hopefully give the piece a little more visual interest. Now I'm finally going in and adding that cyborg eye. I'm keeping everything really subtle, but I still think it has a really cool effect. A cyborg character definitely isn't something that I would gravitate towards on my own, so these pause challenges are really great for getting you to think outside of the box and get you out of your comfort zone. We still have a ways to go with this piece, but if you've watched this far, I just want to thank you for your support. It really means the world to me. And if you like my work, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, or follow me on my social media. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram here. As I'm finishing up, I'm finally cleaning up that hand, which I always save for last, and I'm adding in some more detail to her eyes. I also decided that I still wasn't really happy with the background. It was still looking kind of empty and plain, so I decided to add in some wires and cable boxes to sort of fit in with that cyborg theme and help frame the character on the canvas. I'm keeping everything really basic and under-rendered here. You'd be surprised how far a couple of carefully placed, essentially blue lines can go to add more interest to your image. So how do you think I did? I had a lot of fun with this one, even if I did take some of the prompts a little loosely. It definitely got me to think outside of the box, which I think is a win. If you like my videos, make sure to come back next week. I have new uploads every Monday, so thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.